Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics video on the channel. So today, like we're doing most Thursdays, doing sort of a bit of different video, but today we're looking at the most common players in AFL Fantasy. At this stage of the preseason, obviously we're just over a week away from the practice games and match sims getting underway, which is really good. We've got the unofficial ones and then the official ones is the following week, but we've got some games next week, which is good. So I thought I'd go through the most popular players, put them in a team and sort of go through each player and what my thoughts are on them. This is obviously good for if you just want some info from myself on these players, or if you are new to fantasy and you just want the most vanilla team possible to get off to a solid start, then this is potentially the team for you. And I had a look at it as well before. 1K remaining as well after making this team, which is quite crazy that the most popular team, you got $1,000 left in the bank. So let's get stuck in to those most popular players. But if you are new around here, make sure you do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you all so much. We hit 3,000 subscribers a couple of days ago. Thank you very much for all 3,000 of you that have subscribed. Now, 4K Club is where we're hoping to be landing next. So if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you do. It takes one click of a button and really does help us out a ton. So we're on our way to 4,000. If you haven't, make sure you do. And also smash a like on the video if you guys do enjoy these videos and are keen for the preseason. If you're keen for you to start, just smash a like on the video. Simple as that as well. So let's get stuck in. So we'll move to, we'll go to start with defense, obviously, like we do. And we'll sort by teams selected by. And I'll go in price order in terms of the most popular players here. And we'll show you what the team looks like. So the most expensive player that is in this team is Harry Sheezel. So Harry Sheezel is very expensive, right? Price 112. He changed roles after, obviously, the first part of last season. He was playing defense and averaging over 120. Moved into midfield role, didn't average quite as much. Then his priced at 112. Can he? I guess the question I think a lot of us are asking is, can Sheezel be a clear and obvious number one defender and be worth the starting pick? That's the question. You'd probably want at least a 108 average from him to not feel too bad. If he goes any less than that, you're going to be losing a little bit of value on him, and then people are going to be able to pick him up at a cheaper price. He's been selected by over 40% of people, so a lot of people are jumping on him. I'm still tossing up whether I'm going to be paying up for a D1 or not. I've had iterations of my team where I have had a Sheezel or a Sinclair or someone like that at D1, but I've also had teams where I've had like a Trent Rivers or a Jaiden Short or someone like that at D1. So I'm tossing up if I pay up for one or not. Sheezel is one of I think the better options if you're paying up, because he doesn't have an early buy and he could easily be the number one defender by a little bit. So I don't mind the pick. I want to see how much midfield time, obviously, with Wardle out, he does, sort of how much a bump does he get. But Sheezel, I couldn't knock anyone for picking him. Obviously, the only thing with him is he's just expensive. So, cool. He is a solid option. Coming in at D2, in the most popular players, another expensive defender in Jack Sinclair. So a lot of people are paying up for a D1, and it's one of these two guys. Sinclair, you're saving yourself, 105K from Harry Sheezel. And Sinclair is really safe. He gets it done, and he's averaged over 100 for 3 years in a row now. Doesn't really matter if he plays defense or midfield. He just gets it done. And with Sinclair playing 70 games at Marvel, which is where he does quite well in terms of average. I don't know if on here, yeah, venue stats. So I've got the average for Marvel Stadium. Where is it here? Where's Marvel Stadium? There you go, averaging 85. Yeah, because then again, he didn't score that well at the start of his career, but he does go quite. I think he's averaged like over 105 both in back-to-back years at Marvel. I think last year was like a 112 average at Marvel, and he plays a lot of games at Marvel early. So obviously you've got here, so round 2 and 3, then there's a couple of weeks off, then round 6, 7, 8, then MCG, then back at Marvel again. So a few games there. It's not like last year where he played a whole host of games at Marvel. There's a lot of games here as well after the bye, but they are quite spread out. So you've got a few games here. So he plays a lot of games at Marvel throughout the year anyway. So Sinclair is a solid pick, I think. Crows, not a great matchup, but then Geelong, Richmond is good. Port, not great. Giants, not great. Then Dogs, good. Brisbane, not great. So it's very up and down, but Sinclair's a guy that's safe anyway. Rarely goes below 75, 80 anyway. So I don't mind Sinclair. He's was one of these two guys. If I'm paying up for a D1, these are probably my two favourites. Nasai, probably the other guy that I don't mind as well at St Kilda. So But apparently in a match sim, he did play a little bit of mid-time Jack Sinclair in the second half of that game. So that's just something to monitor. I'd rather him be playing off half-back, even though I said these averages are quite similar. But I'd rather it be off half-back. So they're the two defenders there. Going to the next defender, it is Jaiden Short. Out of any defender, he's the closest thing to a lock to me in defence. 825k, he's priced in the 80s. A lot of guys are gone, like your Dan Rioli's, your Liam Baker, Shea Bolton's, more Liam Baker, sorry, not Liam Baker, more Dan Rioli, the guy that'll open up more points for Jaiden Short, but he just didn't have a great year last year. Low time on ground as well is another factor. His time on ground will get a bump with all the younger players there. He'll be the main guy. He's going to take a lot of kick-ins as he normally does. A 90-plus average I see, I don't want to say fairly comfortably because nothing's really ever guaranteed, but I've even predicted, if I was to have a spies tale, I think he could be a top 6 defender this year based on what I think he could do, the amount of ball that Richmond made chip around back there just to try and sort of pump the brakes on the opposition. So I think Short's in for a big year, and I'm locking him in at this stage to my side, obviously barring any unforeseen positional move or injury or anything like that. But at this stage, Short is one of the guys I'm locking in. And I almost said his name just then, but Callum Mills is the other guy that I'm very confident in putting into my team this year. 759k for a guy that has averaged over 110 a couple of times in the past. I just think he's priced at around the 72 mark, 73 mark. I think he's going to be a very, very good pick. Again, we get the look in opening round, but all pre-season been training with the midfield. That's exactly what we want. That's where he's averaged the 110, the 105, 110 plus in the past. So I just think, even with the opening round then the early bye, I still think Callum Mills is just too much value to be passing up if playing this role. If he's playing in defence, however, that's a different conversation. I think that he's not as much value then. You probably could let him slide through the keeper for a couple of weeks until after his bye, and you can reassess. But I think as long as he's playing midfield in that opening round game in the pre-season, which he has been doing as well, and we even heard Matty Roberts on the Traders podcast saying that Mills has been there and he expects him to be there. So I can't see Mills not playing midfield, which means I think he's a great pick and pretty much like Short is near a lock for me. Kadeem Coleman is next at D5 for the most common players. So as the thing with all this team is everyone's over 20%. That's the thing. So I think it's every player over 20%, but like 2 or 3 players are in this team. So Kadeem Coleman, 521k, I think is a very, very good price if he's playing in opening round and in the preseason games. We've been hearing reports that it's touch and go for opening round and round 1, so we have to watch that. I think they're starting to ramp him up a bit more. That does make me nervous. We've had guys in the past like Zach Williams or Wayne Miller that have had limited preseasons that have then come in early and have either been subbed out or have been maybe had a rest or just not scored well. That's my only worry with Kadeem Coleman, and Dane Zorko is back there as well. Obviously All-Australian last year and in a premiership team and was a big catalyst for them winning the premiership. So Kadeem Coleman, I don't think he just slides into that number 1 role. He's going to share it with Zorko. But I still think priced at 521k is value if he's playing. I hope he plays opening round. We get a look. If he scores well, then we can potentially start him in our sides. But at the moment, I don't currently have him in my team. I just want to see him play first before I'm looking at that. Just want to because if he doesn't play, you want to be making other plans in case he doesn't. So, but yeah, he is there at D5. D6, we've got Toby Travalia. So he's been a favourite of a lot of the community, think he'll get a game early. And then you've got Bo Allen and Saad El Hawley on the bench. So in terms of these guys here, Toby Travalia is, I've been hearing reports he's going to play, but I've been hearing reports he's not going to play. So it's sort of 50-50 whether he does get games early. So can he break into St Kilda's team and play on a wing, which is what we've been hearing in match sims, what he has been doing. If he does play, I think he's a good pick, and I'll be probably putting him in at D6. But if he doesn't, obviously we have to make other plans. Bo Allen, I think he'll get gains for West Coast. It's just his scoring potential. Is he going to score well enough to be on field? That's obviously questionable, but on the bench, I think he's fine anyway. But then again, he probably is okay to be scoring even on our field anyway. Saad El Hawley, I'm not confident he plays round 1. Apparently in match sim, he's been in the B side, and he hasn't been really setting the world on fire. So I'd be making... You don't really have to make too much plans because you've got like a Zach Reed there at 230k who, fun enough, is actually in the utility spot in the team as well. So I should just add him in right now. I think Zach Reed will play. I don't think Sardell Hawley plays, so I'd just be planning for that. You've got like a James Leake here as well. Gibcus won't play early, but Leake's probably the one if he plays opening round for GWS and scores well, get the double price rise and you put him in. So Leake getting a little bit more love, up to over 15%. I think Roy is probably a big catalyst for that one there for people jumping on. But yeah, I'd be looking at other options in case Sard doesn't play. Moving over to the midfield, and surprising a little bit, the most expensive midfielder in the popular team is actually Nick Dacos. So Nick Dacos, opening round, and he's got the early buy in round 3, which is what a few of the players share. So like you've already got a Callum Mills, a Kadeem Coleman already on that buy, and then you add Nick Dacos to it. We're going to have a few other players we're going to talk about with that round 3 buy. I don't like starting Nick Dacos this year in my side, and I know a lot of people, he's up at near 24%. I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that it's Nick Dacos. He's a very, very good footballer, as we are all very aware. But round 3 buy with a lot of other popular players, he's very, very expensive. I think a lot of the community, and I agree with it as well, we said last year and also this year, we're not paying up for these top-end premiums that have got an early buy, which unfortunately I think just rules out Dacos for me. And the fact that he hasn't got a great run either to start. He's got a GWS in opening round. I expect a potential Bedford tag in that one there. Port in round 1. Port will probably show him attention there as well. Bulldogs is fine. That's a good matchup normally for Dacos. But then Carlton, George Hewitt, Sydney, Rowbottom, round 6, Brisbane. Dacos has done well against them in the past, so they're going to want to shut him down. So it's not a great opening run, and Brisbane, Sydney hard even if they don't, and Carlton hard even if they don't tag anyway. So I'd imagine it'd be red, neutral, red, red, red to start. So for me, that coupled with the expensive tag, coupled with the opening round buy, or the opening round and then the early buy, I just can't see me starting Dacos. And the fact that he's had a plantar fascia that he's had to deal with in the pre-season. Apparently he's all good though, full training. He's ramping up and he'll be playing the practice game and stuff. So I'm not too concerned about that, just in case it did flare up. But yeah, it's the other factors that make me a little bit concerned. Moving down the list in terms of players here, it's a fair bit down. And Will Ashcroft is the second most popular midfielder that people are choosing. Again, we just said with Kadeem Coleman. We said it with Nick Dacos. And now and Callum Mills. And now we've also got Will Ashcroft, who does have an early buy. I'd be a lot more keen to start with Will Ashcroft over Dacos because Ashcroft is priced $843K. He's cheaper. And obviously we saw he did in the grand final last year, winning the Norm Smith medal. He's obviously had a full preseason ready to go. He had that ACL injury. He obviously came back quite late last year. The question for me is, does he elevate himself to that number 3 midfielder for Brisbane behind Lachie Neale and Josh Dunkley and sort of pushes McCluggage down a little bit? I think it'll be almost split 50-50 almost with Ashcroft and McCluggage. They'll get very similar CBAs, I feel. It could become a point where Ashcroft does overtake McCluggage, but it could also be where Ashcroft almost plays that 4th midfielder, maybe starting at a half-forward flank, pushing up and getting involved that way. So for me, because he's got the round 3 bot, I'd almost, if he went 120 in the opening round, I think a lot of people are going to jump on him, and I could well be one of those people. But if he doesn't go massive in opening round, I'd be happy, I think, to wait until after his early buy just to see what's happening, see how he's going. But then again, if he could potentially push up to 900K, and then is he worth the pick? That's the question. So it's going to be tough. He's in an awkward price range, I feel. I think there's guys that are a little bit cheaper than him that people are starting. There's guys that are more expensive. So yeah, Will Ashcroft, big preseason watch, big opening round watch. And if he goes really well, could potentially be someone that I look at putting into my team. Continuing with the mid-price theme here, Clayton Oliver is the next person on this list. And again, I just think if he's looking like the Clary that we know, I think he's locked. I know a lot of people are scarred after last year. 77.7 average in 21 games. That's his worst season average since his rookie season. He's been a perennial 105, more like 110 plus averaging midfielder, been one of the best scorers in the comp. And just before, not last year, before in 2023, before he injured his hamstring, everyone was trying to bring him in their side. Everyone was saying this guy could be the best fantasy player for the next 5 or so years. And unfortunately, is that a 12 months he'd probably rather forget, but hopefully from what we're hearing, he's looking fantastic on the track. He's in amazing shape. He's got that burst back as well. So I think he's he's pretty close to a lock for me. I'd have to see something pretty drastic for me not to select him. So for me, I think Clayton Oliver is a very, very good pick. And what was his ownership there as well? Yeah, 46.5%. That's going to be potentially over 50%. Well, that will be over 50% if he's looking good in preseason. So I like him a lot. Will Day's next on the list. And he's someone I'm not really keen on personally. And a couple of reasons why. So he's got the early buy, which, again, I don't think is a big deal when it comes to a guy that's value like Will Days. He's priced at 74. He's clearly and undeniably value. My question is, does he have enough value to be that really good pick? Or can I just wait for him and maybe see something? Again, these value guys, if they go 100, 110, 120 in the opening round, they all of a sudden flip and you've got to consider them because of the cash gen they're going to make. And Will Day's probably got a good buy in terms of if he goes really well in the opening round, he's going to get 4 price rises before his buy. My question is, I don't like his opening run at all. It's very, very hard. So he's got Sydney in opening round, then Essendon, which is okay, Carlton, GWS, the bye, then Port in Adelaide. So I don't like that sort of that 3-week stretch and then the bye. But from round 6 to round 10, I like this run. I like the Geelong, West Coast, Richmond, Melbourne, Gold Coast. TIO sucks a little bit, but I think that's still okay. That run there, I'd be much happier if he just did his thing for the first 3 weeks, then wait for the Port game, and then bring him in like round 6 or round 7 if he's still enough value. So for me, I'm not probably going to be looking at starting him. But as I said, if he goes big in opening round, then I'm definitely going to consider it because I think you just have to. You can't rule anyone out, I don't think, at this stage unless they are injured. Moving on to another spot, another mid-pricer. So a lot of people are going a few of these mid-prices here. James Peatling, one of my new Crows players that has moved over. I'm a big fan of Peatling as a pick for us this year. Priced at, what was he? Was he priced at? 60, essentially 62. I think he's going to be one of the top CBA guys for the Crows this season. I think the first CBA mix will be Peatling, Dawson, and Rankin at the first CBA this in round 1. And I think Peatling's going to have at least 60% CBAs. More like, I think he'll be over 70. And if that's the case, I think he averaged like 92 last year when he had over 60% CBAs and wasn't sub. And that's including a 33. So he's got the ability to go 95, I think, if everything was to sort of go to plan. But even still, if he goes 85, I think that's a great pick. You're getting 23 points of upside. That's perfect. But I think he's also got the ability to go 90, 95 and be an absolute smash pick for us. So Peatling, for me, as long as he's looking good in pre-season, which he has been so far, I think he's going to be a very, very popular pick, and I'm going to be one of those people that's jumping on board with him. Moving to the rookies now, a few of the top draft picks from the year. So Sam Lawler, then you've got Jagger Smith, Levi Ashcroft, and then you've got Sid Draper and Josh Smiley on the bench. So I'll just talk about them quickly, obviously, because we don't quite know exactly with the rookies who's going to play, but we expect these 5 guys should be playing. Sam Lawler had a bit of a slower start to preseason, but really getting going now. Apparently looking really good. In Matt Sim as well, playing a fair bit of midfield time. So if he's looking like that in preseason, I think he's going to be a great pick, even at 340k. I think he will spend time up forward, but I still think he's going to be a good enough pick that we're going to have to jump on if he's playing early, which I expect him to do. Jagger Smith, same thing. I expect him to be playing early for Carlton. Apparently he's been looking really, really good in the CBAs as well. People watching Carlton there have been saying he's been dominating as well in the CBA. So I'm really keen to see him in pre-season. Again, I think he's another one that will play, and he was the top highest averaging fantasy player from the current crop of draftees. So I expect him to be getting game early, and even if he's starting off half forward or on a wing, I still expect him to be scoring really well because I just think he finds the footy. So Jagger Smith, I'm a fan of. Levi Ashcroft, don't really have to say too much about him. If he's playing, then I think we pick him. There's obviously talk that he's obviously had shoulder surgery in the off-season. He's going to be there or thereabouts for round 1, or round opening rounds. They haven't really locked him in just yet. I want to hopefully he plays opening round. He's not the sub. I don't expect him to be sub really, but if he is, obviously we wouldn't pick him. But if he's playing and scores well in opening round, obviously we get the free look anyway. I just think we pick him if he is, and he's one of the most selected players in the game. He is 57%. So I think if he's playing, we pick him. But yeah, just something to be watching. Then you got Sid Draper as well, and Josh Smiley are the other 2 players Here, Sid Draper will play for the Crows early. Everything coming out of the Crows is he's been looking really good, and all his teammates expect him to be playing round 1. And then Josh Smiley as well, had a hamstring setback, so just something to keep an eye on. Apparently, they're saying he should still be okay for the Pracky games coming up, but something to watch there. Just depends, yeah, can Smiley and Lawler score well enough in a rebuilding Richmond team to make enough quick cash, or are there other options? Because there's other options in the midfield that haven't been selected here. Like I think Harvey Langford's going to play for Melbourne early and be a decent scorer for us and someone we pick. Xavier Lindsay playing on a wing for Melbourne could be someone we look at. So there are a few rookies that aren't selected. Finn O'Sullivan for North as well, playing on a wing in pre-season. So a few guys to watch there. And yeah, we're not going to be able to fit them all in. So there might be one or two that we can't pick unless we go 4 rookies in the midfield, which could be a little bit too many, but I guess we'll have to see. Moving to the ruck, Tristan Cherry is with obviously Marshall getting injured. Apparently Marshall will still play round 1, is what Ross Lyne's saying, but with him, with that injury, a lot of people have gone to Cherry, over 55%. He's almost at that point, I think he probably is personally, I think, at that point where I think you just have to pick him. I don't think you can go without him. And the reason I say that is because of the high ownership. If he averages 115, 120, and there's a captain option for those 55% of people, which he would be if he's averaging over 115, he could take the season away from you, especially if you're going 2 value guys. Because the thing is, if you're not going Cherry, who are you going? Marshall, I don't think we can pick because of the injury in the preseason. I'd want to see all Pracky games, him looking 100%, and then no Harry Boyd round 1 for me to pick him. And then like even a Gawn, getting a little bit older, can you just go Gawn over Cherry? Like Cherry and Gawn you could do. Or Cherry and English you could do, but I don't think you can pick English or Gawn over Cherry, I don't think. But again, if people want to do that, then they can definitely do that. I'm not going to tell people what to do with their team, but that's just personally what I'll do. But I think Cherry's got to be locked in, so that is what I would be doing there. I do like putting the emergencies and then the captain and vice captain on. It doesn't really matter because this isn't what my team will be, but this is the most popular team, obviously. Tom de Koning. When Marshall went down, he was the guy I put in my team, and the reason I did is just because the upside. If he's solo ruck, we saw he can score very, very well if he's in the right role, and obviously not an injury free. Hearing Pitney come out the other day and say that he's had a full pre-season himself, and that he's been working really hard to make the dual ruck setup work for Carlton this year, because obviously we know that they were a lot better with just de Koning. I think they were 9. Mitch put out the stat early in the preseason. 9-1 Carlton were when Tom de Koning was solo. They were like 4-8 or something like that when they were sharing the ruck. So looking at that, you'd think de Koning will play solo, but hearing Pitney say that he can also, he's worked a bit forward as well this preseason, I don't like that talk that they're still contemplating doing that. I still don't think they should. They've got Charlie Curnow, they've got Harry Mackay, Brody Kemp apparently is playing forward as well. Like, they've got a tall enough forward line. I don't think they need Pitney in the team as well. But if Carlton decide to do that, I don't think we can pick de Koning. I just think it's way too risky. He's already a mid-priced value pick anyway, or I guess you could say underpriced premium in a way, but he's never really done it, so probably a bit more mid-pricey. But yeah, I just think Pitney's playing, we can't pick him. I just think it's as simple as that. So Harry Boyd on the bench as well, because he's obviously been picked up by St Kilda as an SSP and could get games early, especially with Marshall if he's sort of eased into the season. Maybe they play that dual ruck setup to start the season, and Marshall plays a bit more forward, which is the other concern for me with Marshall. Moving to the forward line, a lot of popular picks here. Obviously, it's a pretty consensus top 6 in the forward line. So Jason Horne-Francis is the most popular of the upper premiums, over 800k. Apparently, he's had a very good preseason, looking to have increased midfield minutes. Went overseas for a training camp as well to the US. So I think he's set, ready to go. The question for me is, can Zach Butters, Connor Rozee, and Jason Horne-Francis all go over 100? And if Jason Horne-Francis is going to be that guy that goes over 100, it's got to be one of the other two that's going to suffer, you would think, a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a drop-off of one's just going to average 85 and then the other two are going to go big. I think they're still going to all average over 95. It's just, can Horne-Francis go towards 100? If he just averages 95, you've still got yourself potentially 5 points of value. But could you get more value by picking a guy that's a bit cheaper, which obviously we've got a few guys that we're going to talk about in a sec. So Horn France for me, I don't currently have. He's very much in the mix for me, depending on what happens. He's got Richmond round 2 as well and Collingwood round 1, so could get off to an absolute flyer and could go big in the first few games with that good early run. That would be the thing that, especially with the fact his ownership's over 40%, that would slightly scare me with some of those good matchups early. But at the end of the day, I could also see him averaging just what he's priced at. He could just go at 90, 91, 92 and only be maybe not even a couple of points of upside. So that's my question. I'm weighing up whether he can, when he can break out to that 95 plus guy and be a solid pick for us as a forward that we're going to keep for the season, or just be a guy that I can pick up at some point throughout the year that won't burn me too much not having. And he's also got the ability to throw up a floor score, which I don't love, especially for a guy over 900k. But again, preseason watch for me, and he is very, very popular at the moment. Jack Macrae, so I'm going to look, a lot of these guys are value now. It's pretty much Horn France is the only expensive forward in the most popular, and then the rest are cheap. So Jack Macrae, and I'm actually going to put Jack Macrae, Bailey Smith, and Caleb Daniel in the team and talk about all three. So Jack Macrae, obviously, well, funny enough, all three of these guys have moved from the Dogs, moved to other teams in the off season, and I think all of them are great picks, and I think they're all got to be locked into our sides. So Jack Macrae, so Philippe being out as well, obviously sucks because Philippe was locked also in our teams. But Jack Macrae, I think he's going to be a full-time mid again, and he's going to score back to, again, he's not going to go back to the 117, 120 that we've seen in him in the past. But can he average over 100? I think definitely. I think he could average 105. I think St Kilda's the perfect fit for him. Obviously, St Kilda, a high-scoring fantasy team. Jack Macrae loves getting the ball. It's just been about his transition points, which you've heard Jaiden talk about plenty over the preseason, even during last year as well. So as long as Macrae can get those transition points, I think that midfield time's going to be there, unlike it was at the Dogs last couple of years, and I think he's going to be a great pick, so I think we've got to lock him in. Bailey Smith, obviously moved to Geelong. They've said all preseason he's going to be an inside midfielder. It'll be good to see it as well in practice games, but from what they're saying, that's going to be happening. I just think we've got to lock him in. Again, he's got that round 3 bye, so as we said before, if you're looking at some of these guys, if you were to select this exact team, you've already got Bailey Smith is 1, then you've got Levi Ashcroft is 2, Dacos 3, Ashcroft 4, Kadeen Coleman 5, Callum Mills 6. That's already 6 players on your field, and yes, I know Levi Ashcroft could be benched for one of these two, which isn't going to cost you too much or whatever, but it's still 5 players on your field that have all got that round 3 bye, which I don't love. So yeah, I wouldn't be thinking exactly to be loading up on these round 3 bye players, but Bailey Smith's a lock. He's the guy that's the most locked, I think, out of any of these round 3 bye players anyway. So I think he's just locked anyway. And I know Dangerfield did say that they're going to ease him into the season early, and they've got to be patient with him. They're not just going to play him 90% game time and like 90% CBAs from the get-go. Probably going to work into it. So just interesting to watch if does that mean sub or a sub out? Not starting sub, sorry, but is that a sub out sort of thing? And they're going to ease him in if they've got the game in hand? Or is it more just okay, he might spend a little bit extra time on the bench, which is probably what I think will be the case anyway. So Caleb Daniel as well. He's obviously the most value out of all these. He's the cheapest, and I think he could present, as I said, the most value. So priced at, what is he priced at? Like in the 50s? Yeah, he's priced at 50. In North Melbourne, if you want one role in AFL Fantasy across any team, it is halfback for North Melbourne. We've seen every player dominating that role. We've seen Harry Sheasel obviously dominating that role even at the start of last year and then the year before. Colin McKirch has done fantastic in that role. We even saw Zach Fisher score well at times last year. Then you go back and you see your Jack Zeebles, your Aaron Halls, even Luke McDonald had a really, really good year playing off halfback for North Melbourne. So they're just a gold mine for fantasy points at halfback. And the fact that he's only 514k, even if he was at any other club and he was going to play halfback, he'd be a lock. But the fact that he's at North Melbourne as well, he's a smash pick, and I think he's going to be fantastic for us. So he's locked in. The guy that I didn't put in, that is actually more expensive than the two of them, I thought I'd just put Macrae, Smith, and Daniel sort of in the same bucket, and I'll talk about Riley Sanders now. So Riley Sanders apparently tore up the intra-club match sim that they did the other day. Apparently had over 30 touches and kicked 3 goals, playing in the midfield, looking fantastic. That's exactly what we want to be hearing from these type of guys in the preseason. But then couple that with, obviously, the unfortunate news that Adam Treloar is out for 8 to 10 weeks with a sort of multiple calf strains and just hasn't got going the preseason. I think Sanders is going to take that role. And, yeah, if he's got that role, he's lock. Obviously, Bevo is the big sort of spanner thrown in here. Does he become sub again? Does he sub him out? Does he play forward? Does he not even play round one? We had all those with Bevo last year. I think Sanders has done everything he needed to in the VFL last year and in preseason, and we've heard even Bevo come out and say that Sanders is looking great in the preseason, is doing what they're wanting him to. So I think he'll play. Obviously, there's just that little flag there that you got to remember, but I think Sanders will be good. So funny enough, all four guys that used to be teammates, all in our forward line. But yeah, I think Sanders is going to be a very good pick there as well. Going in at the rookie spot, we're going to put Elijah Hewitt because he is sort of the we got Kako there. Sorry, my bad. Kako will be going in the team, but we'll just put Elijah Hewitt on the field, and then we'll put Kako and Dan Curtin on the bench as well. So Elijah Hewitt, apparently, again, looking really, really good. Jeppa was saying going down to pre-season training, and Elijah Hewitt really impressed him, playing bulk midfield time, which is fantastic. Whether he can continue that bulk midfield time in the actual season and in the Pracky games will be a really interesting watch. But again, at 332k, like, he's going to be a lot of people's F6s, and potential midfield role is exactly what we'd be looking for. It's perfect for a forward rookie. And it's not his first year in the system. He's had a couple of years in the system. Injuries have stopped him from playing. I think he's going to go quite well this season and be a really good cash cow for us. So Elijah Hewitt's there. And then Isaac Kako and Dan Curtin on the bench. Kako plays opening round, which is going to be good because he's going to get that double price rise post round one. And apparently he's looked fantastic in preseason. Look like he's going everywhere. Playing forward, but Track Watch is saying he's actually getting really high up the ground and getting involved around the stoppages as well, which is exactly what I want to be hearing. And there's an argument to be made if you weren't going a Horn Francis at F1, could you just put Kako at F6 and sort of bump these guys up a spot and then use that cash in the midfield or defence, or even if you want to go set and forget Ruck, and if you were to go Gorn, or if you did part from Marshall or something like that. So something to watch, but I think Kako will be really good for Essendon, and as long as he scores well in opening round, I think we'll be picking him anyway. So Kako, I think, will be playing in opening round. Dan Curtin as well. My only flag for Dan Curtin has been playing forward and mid in the preseason. If he's playing more forward, I think there could be, because there's a few forward rookies we've got to keep an eye on. Like, you've got your Joe Berry, who's looking really good in preseason. Caden Cleary looking good for Sydney. Connor Stone, apparently playing off halfback for GWS. Does he get games early? There's a few rookies to consider in the forward line. And then you've got a few guys in the over 350, like Jack Hutchinson, Ryan Marrick, Jack Silvani, O'Neill Rasmus, guys like that could actually get some Hugo Garcia, another one that could present a lot of upside, or we've seen them play a couple of games already. So that's just something to watch with Dan Curtin in the preseason. I think Dan Curtin will be fine. I think he'll play some CBAs. I don't know if he'll get enough to be a huge scorer, but could he do enough for our bench spot? I think absolutely. So I think that would be pretty solid from him. But yeah, that is the most popular team there. So obviously that's just for people that sort of want to see it in full. That's the team there. I actually quite like the team. If there wasn't opening round buys and everything like that, I think every single player here presents good upside. I think Harry Sheasel might be and Tristan Cherry are probably the only two that aren't going to outperform their price by a great deal, or they could regress a tiny bit. But everyone else, I think, could be valued. Like Sinclair could be a couple points unders. All defenders are value. All the midfielder are value. Like, I think even though I said Dacos got the opening buy priced at 105, I think he could be a 110 plus and present pretty good value. If he didn't have opening round, it'd be a lot more in consideration for me. All the midfielders, forwards, I think they'll present upside. So if you are new to fantasy and you want to go for this exact team, the most popular team, and sort of trade your way throughout the season, I think you could definitely do that. As I said, the early buys for a few of these players, like you've got two defenders there with a defender rookie that's got a buy, and then obviously Hay Reid and Utility's got the early buy as well. Then you've got Dacos, Ashcroft, Day, Levi, Ashcroft have all got early buys. None of the Rucks do. And then you've got just Bailey Smith in the forward line and Isaac Kako on the forward line. So probably the defence is the one, obviously, with a couple, and then the midfield. So maybe you don't select all of them, but I do like a lot of the players in this list with a couple of exceptions. So let me know in the comments below if you're fading any of these popular players and who you're really not keen on. And also, if you are very keen on those players, let me know in the comments below why you're keen on starting any of the players in the current side. In terms of my own team, as my current draft. I've currently got 4 of the defenders, being Short, Mills, Travalia, and Bo Allen. Then the midfield, I've got Oliver, Peatling, Jagger Smith, Levi Ashcroft, Sid Draper. So that's 5 of those. And also I've got Zach Reed as well there. So how many defenders is that? That was what... I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 defenders of the 9. Then the rucks, I've currently got Cherry. Don't have De Koning, so I took him out the other day, but I could easily just put him in. I think I've got 140k in the bank. So if I want to say De Koning, I've got all 3 of the rucks there at the moment, but I have changed that R2 spot a little bit since that news of Pitno potentially playing. Then the forwards, I've got McRae, Sanders, Smith, Daniel, Elijah Hewitt, Kako, and Danny Curtin. So all the forwards bar Horn France at the moment. But as I said, Horn France has been in and out of my team all pre-season. So I could easily have all 8 of these. And this could easily be my forward line going into the season. And I like that forward line as well. So, yeah, I like the whole team in general. So actually, how many of them I've got in terms of tallying them up? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I got 20 of the 30. So, yeah. So a lot of them there, just with the 10 that aren't in the team so far. So, but anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you do smash a big thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel, as I mentioned before. Nearly half of you haven't subscribed yet, viewing on the channel. So if you did want to click subscribe and help us out a whole bunch, it takes 1 click. And it would be fantastic if you guys get involved. We've got daily content throughout the entire season. And then we're pretty much going to be daily content for even the rest of the preseason, to be honest. Head-to-head series is obviously started now. We're obviously a couple of episodes in. We've got another one tomorrow with Luke from the Ball Boys, chatting about a couple of value mids. Price just under that $1 million mark there. So looking forward to that chat as well. Obviously, our pod is on Sunday. And then we continue the content next week as well with head-to-heads and a couple of other videos I'll be doing for you guys as well. And yeah, if you got any questions as well, head over to Ask Me on Q, spelt qu.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. Link is at the very top of the description of the video as well. If you'd like to help support the channel extra, obviously going there and asking a question, you can send through screenshots to your whole team. I can look over it there for you and answer any question you have, and you get a personalised audio response to you as well. So if you guys would like to do that, that would be very much appreciated, and the link is at the very top of the description, as I said. But anyway, thanks guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on tomorrow for the 3rd episode of the Head-to-Head series. So thanks guys, I'm out. Cheers.